Alright, well, let's just get right into it. We're back at it again today. If you've watched some of my videos, especially on this Expedition, the Ford Taurus, the Mountaineer, the Ford Explorer, they all have heater issues. The heater core either gets plugged up or there's so much rust in the system and debris that gets trapped in there. It eventually, over time, will clog up that heater, and as you're driving it, it'll become warmer and warmer, and eventually you'll have no heat. And I've got my little setup here, and we'll go over this here in a second. Let's go inside and see what we have for temperature. But right now it's running. I got my hoses set up. I have my little temperature, Doppler meter temperature gun here. And if you can find your heater hoses, just simply get up on top of your engine, and while it's running, put your hand on one hose and see if it's hot, and check the hose coming out of the heater core. If it's not as hot, then you know that is your problem. And those heater hoses there should be about the same temperature coming in and coming out. But like this one here, this is going in, it's very hot. This one here, not so hot. And we'll check the temperature with the gun here in a minute. Let's go inside. Okay, now we're inside. I got my little temperature gauge set up here, and we're getting about 99 degrees. It should be a lot hotter. I got my probe sticking in there, and hopefully this is what we'll accomplish today. But if this is your issue, hey, don't feel too discouraged. Now, if I give it some gas, and you can see my temperature gauge is up there pretty high, right there, it's right in the middle. And you can see the temperature tries to come up a little bit, so we're up to about 109 degrees, but it should be about 140 degree temperature in here. So we're going to go out here and we're going to try to see if we can take care of this issue. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and take my Doppler temperature gun here and crawl up here, and this is the inlet hose. And you can see I'm getting 138 degrees on that hose right there. Now here's the outlet hose, and you can see I'm only getting about 109. 113, 116. So there's a difference there now, so it should be a lot hotter. Alright, now since I got the engine shut off, you can probably hear me a little bit better. Now, the first thing I have to do is go ahead and slide these hoses off. You want to be careful. There's some O-rings. We have to be careful not drop, and go back and look at some other videos on this Expedition. And I explain these O-rings. And there is insulation right here. My advice is get you some gloves, because that stuff is pretty itchy. I actually went to the Dollar Tree and picked these up for like $1. They're real thin, and they will cover your hands all the way up past your ankle, your elbow, not your elbows, your wrists, because this insulation there, if you rub your hand on it long enough, it starts to itch, and it'll itch you for a day or two. I found out the hard way. So have you some thin gloves or some mechanic rubber gloves, because you want to get your hands up under there far enough to be able to catch any of those seals if one of them happens to fall off. And I got a 5-gallon bucket, and I got a couple of hoses set up here, and these are 3/4 inch hoses with some clamps on them, on the end of them, I should say, try to say. And we're just going to slide these on, and we're going to take the garden hose that I have set up here. And here's my garden hose. Now I have, or I should say I had, one of these guys, but look at it, it's melted. I was flushing out a engine, and the water was so hot in the engine it melted that. So if you want one of these, this got a little shut-off valve on it, on and off. You can put it on the end of this guy here, and you can just turn the water on and off. But what I'm going to do is just shove this hose into this 3/4 inch hose and go back and forth, and we're going to do a reverse flush. Now, I know that the water going into the heater core is on this side and coming out is over here, so we're going to pop this hose off here. Well, actually, we're going to take both hoses off, and we're going to put a hose. We're going to put 2 hoses back on here, and we're going to reverse flush it first, and we're going to take this hose, drop it into this clean bucket, and I want to see what comes out of that heater core, because I know it's plugged up. Now, this is the last time I'm going to do this. The reason I'm doing it now, it's almost Christmas, and over the next 4 or 5 days, it's going to get terribly cold. It's going to be almost down next to 0 at night, and it's going to be brutal in the daytime, and I want my heat. Like I said, I have some heat, but it could be a lot better. Now, after this, even if it does work, I think what I'm going to do in the next 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 2 weeks, if we get a break in the weather, I'm going to go ahead and replace the heater core up front and make a video and show you how to do that. And if you don't have access to one of these, or don't have a temperature gun, you can get these, by the way, for about $35 online. If you don't have access to one of these, just take your hand and find your heater hose, and just heater core hose, put your hand on there and try to figure out if they're both the same temperature, if one's cold and one's hot. So I've got everything kind of set up here, got the bucket set up and hose, and we'll go ahead and slide these hoses on, pull those off, and we'll go ahead and start this and get this over with before it gets too late in the day. Alright, got my gloves on, looking pretty stylish here, and first thing we're going to do is go ahead and slide these two heater core hoses off. Now if you have a radiator cap, go ahead and relieve some of the pressure on it. Now my water has cooled down quite a bit. And by the way, this antifreeze in this is pretty diluted in this vehicle right now because I'd worked on it earlier. It's got very little antifreeze in it. It's mainly mixed with water, so the heater core is only going to hold maybe a quart of antifreeze. If it was completely pure antifreeze, and I would worry about getting a bucket and trying to catch some of it on the ground, but it's not going to hurt anything. It's very diluted, and if you want to catch some of your antifreeze, and it is completely good antifreeze, and it's you know, something you want to try to keep, then I would suggest you get underneath and drain some of your antifreeze out. And on this one, it is on this side, I believe, right about, it's actually right there. It's kind of hard to see, there's a dust cover there, but real easy to get to. Just go ahead and drain some of your antifreeze out, and that way you won't lose it, and get it in the ground, and get it in the groundwater and all that. And let's see, other than that, we'll go ahead and start pulling this off. Now if the engine's been running over the last half hour, be careful, because this antifreeze is still stays pretty warm back, you know, so you might want to let it cool down a little bit before you go pulling these hoses off, and make sure there's no pressure on the lines. Now we're ready to go ahead and pull these hoses off and see if we can get this a reverse flush here and see what comes out and into the bucket. Alright, so you might as well watch me stick my hands up in there. Maybe you can see this. I'll go ahead and get this first one off. And I've done this several times on other vehicles, so it's pretty easy for me just to pop these off, not a big deal. Now remember, you're probably going to get a little antifreeze leaking out, so don't get too excited. And of course, this one made me a liar. No antifreeze leaking out of it whatsoever. And here is this hose right here. And you look closely down there, you can see those little seals. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. And boy, there's very little antifreeze in that hose. And now we'll go ahead and take off the other one. We'll just push this off to the side. And here is the next one. And I'll get my hand up in here. And it takes a couple of seconds to fiddle around to get those hoses to, those clips to release. And here comes the second one. And this one had a little antifreeze in it, but no big deal. And there's this hose, and I apologize, you probably can't see, but all those seals stayed in the hose. Sometimes they will stay on the heater core hose, so you have to be careful about that. Let me put my hand up here like this, double check. Okay, we're ready to go ahead and start flushing here. But before we flush, let me just show these little seals real quick. So if you have, like I said, Ford, Taurus, Explorer, and you're fighting heater core issues, don't get discouraged. You can eventually get it fixed. Now I'm going to pull these little seals out, because if I don't, somebody's going to say or comment, well, you didn't show us how to take those seals out, and now I don't know what I'm going to do, and I don't like your video, and I'm going to give you a thumbs down and make a stupid comment. You gotta love YouTube. So here's the seals. You got a rubber seal, you got this little hard seal that goes in the middle, and you got an O-ring. Actually, these are O-rings, if you want to get technical. So there are those, and I will put these on last, actually first, before I put this hose on. I'll put these on the heater core tube, then slide these on. There's that one. Alright, let's go ahead and take the other one off since we're on a roll here. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. This is not going to be a detailed, you know, technical video. This is just to help you get some heat in your vehicle, because we all need a little help, right? Alright, there are these two, and I got another O-ring back in there, so this is why you got to be careful. Now if you lose one of these, you may have to go and get you a O-ring for this. And you know what? I think I am missing an O-ring. I think that's the O-ring I found about a week ago. So I've been running this on just this hard seal and this rubber O-ring. Wow. Let me just verify. No, that's it. So I've actually got an O-ring kit in there, so I'll replace that one. So this is what you gotta be careful. You really need both of those O-rings on there for no leaks. Alright, here's my O-ring kit. This is the O-ring that I need, and there's the other one. I'm glad I kept that sucker. So there we have 2 good O-rings. So put this over here. So we got 2 O-rings, a hard seal, 2 O-rings and a hard seal, and the hard seal goes in the middle. And now when we go put this back together, we won't have any leaks. So make sure you do that. By the way, this O-ring seal kit came from the local parts store. They make it metric and OEM sizes. Alright, so I've got my first hose on, and here's the other one, and I've got this little clip on there. It's just a disconnect clip, and put my hand up in there, feel where the tube is, the heater tube is, and slide this one on like that. And we are on, and now we can go ahead and flush this out. And there's our setup. We've got 2 tubes coming out of the heater core, and remember this one here I said was the one that was cold, so we're going to reverse flush this end. And it's going to come back out here and down into the bucket. So let me set my camera up on a tripod. Okay, so here we go. I'll go ahead and hook this hose up to the inlet side, the outlet side I should say, and see what we got. Now you want to do this slowly, so sometimes you run a risk of those hoses popping off. And whoa, look at the crap. So there was my problem. That's pretty bad. A lot of crap in there. I'll let that run. We'll run 5 gallons of water through it. All kind of stuff in there. So maybe, you know, if you do this and it runs okay for a month or so and you still have really good heat, you might not have to change your heater core. But since I have a video YouTube channel, that's what I like to do a lot of times. To change out parts, so you know how in case you have to. So let's fill this up, and it's coming through there pretty good now. There's 5 gallons. Alright, so I drained all the pretty much water, no antifreeze in there hardly at all, but you can see there's the stuff I just drained out of that heater core, and that's the problem we have with Fords. I don't know if it's the antifreeze, their own type of antifreeze they put in them, but parts of the inside of the engine and hoses, metal hoses rust, and that heater core starts to get plugged up. Some of that could be, you know, the heater core, to be fair, but that's, at least we got that out. So let's do an opposite flush and see what we get. Alright, here we go with the opposite flush. See what we get. And hey, it looks a lot better. Still some stuff down there. But this should make a big difference in that little bit of heat I was getting cheated out of. I will run 5 gallons through here. And I got the pressure up pretty high. Not terribly high, but it's high enough. And it's flowing pretty good to that hose, so this might take care of my issue, it looks like. I mean, I know that's all it is. It's just a heater core. It gets plugged up, and this happens to a lot of vehicles. Alright, well, pure water now. Let's go ahead and drain most of this water out, and we'll look and see what we got in the bottom. And now you can see we got some little flakes in there. And it's not as bad as it was the first time, so we're going to do one more reverse flush and see what we get out of there. But at least we're getting less material now. Alright, we're going to do one more reverse flush and call it a day. Alright, there we go. Still getting some stuff coming out. A little bit of stuff down there, but we're not going to get it all out, that's for sure. But this should make a big difference. Now I've seen in some other videos, if you go back and look, some of the heater cores I've flushed out, it looks like chocolate milk. So, you know, this is what you gotta do sometimes. This is not for the snowflake mechanic, that's for sure. If there's such a thing. I've been told. Alright, so it looks like we got clean, pure water, no more debris coming out. I guess we can put this thing back together. Alright, we'll stop that. And we'll see what we got. Alright, so pretty much got it all out. Just a few little specks. That's not too bad. So we'll see how my heater works now. We'll go ahead and put the car back together, the hoses. I'm going to roll. I'm going to do one more flush. What the heck? And now you can see it's really clean coming through there. So that's what I want to see. And you can see hardly anything in there. That's great. So I won't bore you no more. We'll go ahead and put this together and we'll see how the results are with this heater. Now remember, when you're going to put these seals on, slide these on first on the heater hoses, the core tubes that come out. Because it's a lot easier when you do that and stick them in there and you get one of them kind of bent or cross-threaded or something. That could cause you problems. Cross-threaded, I mean, if you get one of them in there and they go sideways and they get pinched and you don't know there's no way to tell they're sealing, so it's best to put those on first. Okay, this was the last flush and you can see hardly anything in there, just a couple little specks. Yay! Alright, now we can go ahead and put it together. Alright, so we'll go ahead and pull these hoses off. And typically this is what I like about the disconnect clips like that. It makes it a lot easier, just slide them right off. And this one too, and I got one of these guys here, just kind of hold it. And like I said, this is a 5/8 hose. I think I said 3/4 earlier in the video, but this is actually a 5/8 hose. So we'll take that off. And now we'll go ahead and start putting our seals on and all that. And remember, just start these on straight. Get your hand up there and put those little clips in there and get this just right. And I usually turn that white clip which is up in there, and I can't show you on the video because it's so far up in there. I tried to turn it in the angle of these little slots right there, and it makes it easier when you push it in. You hear it go click. Okay kids, it's all back together. Took me a little while to get those clips in the right angle for those hoses and all that, but that's all on, no leaks. I did change out the thermostat. I was going to show you real quick, but I thought I didn't want to bore you because it looks like it's about ready to rain out here. And this is the housing hose on these thermostats. When you take these off, make sure you tap these bolts several times and slowly break them loose because they will break off. Just be wary. My thermostat's actually right there. So that took about 25 minutes to do. So I got a new thermostat. This is the old one. I put a 195 degree thermostat in it, and let's go inside and see what kind of temperatures we got. And it's just starting to warm up, and you can see the gauge there, just starting to come up a little bit, halfway maybe. And we're up to 112 degrees already, so that's great. And I can feel a difference already in the heat. So we're going to bring the RPM up a little bit and warm the engine up to operating temperature, and we'll check the temperature here and see how much more we got. Okay baby, we're up to operating temperature, and check this out, 145 degrees or so, 144. That's amazing, and I can tell just a big difference in the heat, and it's cranked all the way up. So I hope this helps you out. This is just going to be amazing because, like I said, over the next few days it's going to be down near zero, and this is, I can't believe, wow, that's great. You saw before I couldn't even get, what, 120. That 20 degrees difference in heat made a difference. So let's go outside and look at the vehicle one more time and wrap the video up. Alright, here's a final look at it. So all my hoses are back together, no leaks, and I got a new thermostat, and I am good to go. So Mother Nature, whatever you got, throw it at me. Snow, ice, freezing temperatures, because I'm ready. I've got heat. See. So thanks guys for watching. If you like my videos, give me a thumbs up and all that. And until then, stay warm everybody. I'll see you then.